Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have compiled a list of books that have neurodiverse representation in them. And because it is Autism Awareness Month, I thought this was the perfect time to highlight these books. So the first book recommendation is The Kiss Quotient, and this is by Helen Wong. I believe that's how you pronounce the last name. And this book was absolutely adorable. So our main character, Stella, she is actually on the autism spectrum, and she's like, you know what? I could use some help with learning how to kiss and be intimate and be in a relationship. So she hires a male escort to teach her how to do these things. And let me tell you, Michael definitely teaches her how to do these things. He asks her questions and he gets her input. That way she can feel comfortable so that she can evolve and blossom in a relationship and in the realm of intimacy. This book is spicy, I am not going to lie, and it really caught me off guard. So if you are in the mood for a very cute romance where the woman, okay, is the successful one, she's the one that has all the money, Michael is the one who's kind of having a rough time financially, which is why he ends up becoming an escort. It's just so cute. They both have like their own level of insecurities, and you see them both overcome these insecurities and just go down a path and a journey together. It's so cool. And I love the autism representation in this. It is on point because the author is actually on the autism spectrum. So Stella just feels like a really dope individual that just happens to experience life differently from us. This was so freaking cute. I did not expect it to be that cute, but it was such a good time. I think I gave that book like 4 stars. So want something steamy, cute, fluffy, fun, that's gonna be a good recommendation for you. Our next book rec is The Rosie Project. I think his name is Graham Simpson. I think that's how you pronounce the name. This was so much fun. This was so funny. Our main character, Don here, he decides, you know what? I want a life partner. So he creates a survey so that he can just eliminate any girl that is not for him. He ends up meeting Rosie, and Rosie is not his ideal partner at all. She just isn't. So he immediately eliminates her, which is fine. They end up being friends, and she's actually on a journey to find out who her biological father is. So Don's like, you know what? I'll help you find out who your dad is because he's a successful professor. Now, what I will say is that the autism representation in this book does feel like it's more for entertainment. It just felt like he was a fictional character that just happens to have autism, not necessarily for the purposes of awareness, just more so for the purpose of inclusion. We can use more books like that where fictional characters just happen to have autism. Nothing wrong with that. It's still a level of inclusion. I do know that this book got mixed reviews because of that. I still thought it was a really good time. I did give this book 3 stars. I am invested enough to read the second book. I think there's the second and the third. This book highlights that autistic people are able to adapt and that their gifts are so freaking cool. Like, they're so intuitive with things that they're really into and really good at. And so it makes them exceptionally great at things they didn't even know. Like, he ends up being like a fantastic bartender because he's into like science. So like mixing formulas and drinks, it just came natural to him. He just loved it. Therefore, he thrived at it. And I just thought that was so cool. So I did like the highlight of that. I thought it was so sweet too because he felt like, oh my God, I don't know what love is. I don't know if I'm experiencing love or feeling love. And then as he goes through the journey and realizes like, dang, the women that are on my list versus the girl who isn't, I'm kind of feeling her, you know? And so logically, I should not like this person. I should not be attracted to this person. Therefore, I must be experiencing love. So it's just cute. It's fun. It's funny. It's just a good time. If you need something like a good palate cleanser, or you've just read a lot of heavy books and you just need something light, this is a good book to go ahead and read. This next one, it has its own video. Did you really think that I would not highlight it here? And it is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. Love this book so much. It's a beautiful exploration of self-love and hope that you can have a beautiful, healthy love after you've had dirty, heavy, tragic, overwhelming, exhausting love. It's just such a beautiful highlight that there are still men out there that have done the work and that are doing the work and that can love you well, baby, after you were not loved the way that you should have been loved. Oh, I love that. And more than anything, you can be content with or without a partner. Love that the book highlights that. This book is just so good, and I believe this is a good book for any woman to read. I really do. This is one of those books that if I go and look right now and see that somebody gave it a 1 or 2 star, I can't understand. Most every other book on my shelf or that I've read, I get it. I'm like, I can see how someone DNF'd this. I can see how this is a 1 star. This is one I'm like, baby, we should all be giving 3 and up. How did you get a 1 star out of it? I don't know, but Everyone's reading taste is different. I'm just saying it should be 3 stars and up. But anyway, on top of a beautiful love story, the autism representation is on point because Kennedy Ryan is an autism mom. So she has firsthand experience with autism. I love how she explored the worries that we deal with, the meltdowns, really just taking a deep dive at what it looks like for the parents that have children that are on the autism spectrum. Let me stop because now I'm just going on it. Oh my God, clearly I love this book. So this next book I actually got from the library, and it is Everyone Here is Lying by Sherry LaPena. I had so much fun reading this book. I felt like it was such a gripping plot. It had impeccable pacing, so many different moving parts. It was just a good popcorn thriller. This isn't one of those books where it's like overly deep and like, you know, extra philosophical or anything like that. It's just for fun. If you're looking for something that is fast-paced, fun, funny, I mean, it has family drama, challenging family dynamics, there's infidelity. So let me give you the synopsis. Basically, our main character, William, he's having an affair, and on the day that his side piece, mistress, whatever you like to call it, she dumps him, and that same day his daughter goes missing. And so all of these people in their small private town are like, whoa, this is a safe town. How did this happen? Where is this girl? I believe her name is Avery. Avery does have ADHD along with some other behavioral issues, and that's another thing. Sometimes people assume that neurodiverse or neurodivergent strictly just means autism. It does not. It is dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADD, ADHD. Some people even put anxiety in there. So a neurodiverse brain, they just process and see things differently. So like I said, Avery, she has ADHD and she goes missing. This girl was very unbearable. I'm not gonna lie. I love the highlight of that it doesn't matter how challenging a child is, you still love that child. Okay, and if something happens to that child, your heart just aches. And I love the stereotypes that were brought up around cases that involve like a missing child, who we look into, who we don't look into. Thought that was wonderful. So there was also an autistic character in the book. It's a side character, but I love the highlight in that how this particular family, if something goes wrong, people assume that this individual did it. She's always getting calls from the school, obviously because her child has some behavior issues. They're very isolated, and so I really loved how Avery's mom and this other mother were able to cultivate a friendship, because it is so important. Like, even though our kids may not have the same diagnosis, we still are dealing with a challenging situation, a different situation, and community is everything, baby. When you are dealing with a child that has special needs or is wired differently or whatever verbiage you want to use, community is everything. And so if you want something fun and juicy and drama filled and fast paced, this is going to be the book rec for you. This next one is actually in the category of a YA thriller, and it is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I love Pip. I really do. I think she is such a dope individual. She's so persistent. She's so smart. She's so brave. Wow, I was not this brave at her age. I am still aiming to be this brave at this age that I am, and so love her as a character. She decides to examine a closed case where a friend of hers, Sal, they thought that he basically murdered his girlfriend and then, you know, killed himself. She investigates. She does get to the bottom of it. That is what's so epic and cool about her character. It's like, where were the cops? Like, what were you doing? How is Pip figuring these things out? You guys just closed the case and that was just it. So yeah, it's very impressive how the story is told and what is uncovered and how the story actually ends. It ends up going very crazy. It's a very exciting book. For adults, it's not as thrilling. I feel like it does read cozy mystery, but if you are in the YA category, I could see how it could be a little bit spooky or thrilling to like a teen or a young adult. But the neurodiverse representation was important in this book, but it was very small. There is a character in the book who has an intellectual disability. They never say what the disability is. This particular individual had elopement issues, and so they were put in a very, very dangerous situation. Absolutely broke my heart. And so I thought that that was cool to be in the book because it raises awareness. And again, this is Autism Awareness Month. This person may not have been autistic, doesn't matter. This particular character was still struggling with an intellectual disability. They struggle with elopement. They got themselves in a very, very dangerous situation. And that is a massive fear for parents like me who are raising children with autism, and especially those of us who our kiddos like to elope. So like I said, the book is just really fun and really cool overall, but that small little highlight Loved it. Okay, so this next book is in the category of historical fiction, and it is Take My Hand by Adalyn Perkins Valdez. I believe that's the name. Loved this book. Did not expect to enjoy this book as much as I did. And I learned something. I'm like, whoa, why did I forget, or how did I not realize that once they roll out birth control, it has to be tested on someone other than animals? Duh, Joyce. I guess I just kind of forgot. To sum up this book really quickly, we have a Black nurse who ends up figuring out that like the government is sterilizing women who are illiterate or that are Black and in poor communities. These women cannot read, and so they do not know what they're signing. And furthermore, they are giving out the depot shot to young teenage girls who are not even sexually active, which is wild. So basically, they're just kind of like a test dummy to make sure that it works. She makes a choice not to give these particular girls the shot anymore. I guess the clinic finds out and they sterilize these women against their wishes. Heartbreaking, so sad, so traumatic. The audacity was at an all-time high in this book, and the saddest part, it's inspired by a true story. And I was just like, this is absolutely horrible. This was a true historical fiction. So if you like historical fiction books, this was such a good read. I love Civil. I thought it was such a beautiful audiobook. I loved the Southern vernacular and slang. And one of the girls that was sterilized, so the neurodiverse representation, she was actually non-speaking. And then I guess back then, a lot of people that had like special needs or autism and things like that, they weren't really getting diagnosis. And I'm not saying that this particular character had autism. It just seems that way. And Civil, the nurse, she ends up taking her to a school where she can get services and things that were going to help her at the level that she was at. And so I loved that. Oh, I loved it so much. There are so many people who do not have a diagnosis. Even if someone doesn't have that diagnosis, somebody has to care enough to get this individual some help, to get this individual some resources, some tools, and something to make this individual the best that they can possibly be. So what if they're not speaking? So what if they never speak? There are programs and there are people who are called and that specialize in working with non-speaking children, autistic children, ADHD children, all of that. And so absolutely love that Civil just loved these girls so much that she constantly went above and beyond for them to just get them the help and the resources that they needed. Oh, I just loved it. Let me chill because now I'm just going on and on and on because it was so good. If you're into historical fiction, that's going to be a good one to check out. This next book is actually a book that was written by a 13-year-old. Is he 13 or 12? 13. A 13-year-old boy who's on the autism spectrum and he's not speaking. Say what? You think I'm not gonna read a book like that? The name of this particular book is The Reason I Jump, and it is by Naoki. I cannot pronounce the last name. I'm not even gonna attempt at this moment, but this book was so powerful, so captivating. I am the type of person that I need to know why. Why does something operate that way? Why did you make that choice? Why do you think that way? I love getting into psyche and psychology, the world, and why things are the way that they are, why people think the way that they do, which is why I generally read contemporary and literary fiction. And so this is actually in the category of nonfiction, and I ate it up. This is a very controversial book though, because a lot of people cannot bring themselves to believe that a 13-year-old boy wrote the book. I'm not gonna lie, there were times I was like, you sure he wrote this book? At the end of the day, this is so epic. When people ask him questions, he uses a word board, and that is how he formulates words. Anybody willing to have this level of patience during this process, I tip my hat. This was so cool for us to be able to get into the mind of someone that actually has autism. And some of these questions, I was crying. He just highlights and says so many different times throughout the book, we need your help. Don't give up on us. That kept bringing me to tears because this journey of parenting a child with autism is extremely hard. It is very challenging. There are some days where I do not feel equipped, and I'm sure other mothers and fathers feel like that as well. And you just feel like, I don't think I can do this. I don't know if I am cut out for this task. For him to remind me that we are struggling just as much as you guys are, if not more. So we need your help. We need your support. We do not need you to give up on us. Oh, I'm like, he took me out. I'm like, thank you so much for the reminder, because I'm having some hard days, y'all. And I'm just like, Okay, at the end of the day, I have to remember that my little one is struggling just as much, if not more than me. And I just thought that was such a beautiful reminder. So the way that the book is set up is really cool. Basically, it's like a Q&A. So he's being asked questions and then he uses his board to give his answers. And one of the questions was, why are you always running off somewhere? So that's eloping. He says, my mind is forever swaying this way and that. It's not that I want to go running off. I just can't help dashing away to whatever place enters my line of sight. It's really annoying for me too, because people are always telling me off about it, but I don't know how to stop it. When you read this book, you can't help but to have more compassion. And I think that was the goal. I think he just wanted us to have more compassion for people on the autism spectrum. So this book could use its own review. I'm not gonna go on and on. But yes, I am wildly impressed by what they were able to accomplish as a team by putting this book together. So another nonfiction book recommendation that I have is Differently Wired. I absolutely enjoyed this book as well. It has such a tone of empowerment and inspiration, and I just love that verbiage, differently wired. It's so cute, right? Because at the end of the day, these individuals, they're just wired differently from us. That's it. They see the world and they experience the world different than us, and that's why we just have to have a little bit more compassion and awareness for what it is that they're going through, and patience. Oh, the amount of patience. Which is so crazy because I'm always like, oh Lord, give me more patience, give me more patience. And it's like, I'm not just gonna grant it to you. I'm gonna put you in a situation where you have to exude all of this patience, darling. And so, but yes, Differently Wired is a very good book recommendation if your child was just diagnosed. I did not gain as many knowledge nuggets as I would have liked from this book, but I think that's because I read it maybe a year or more after my daughter was diagnosed. And then there was parts of the book that I felt like I'm not even quite here yet because she's only 6. She's not in like, public school, private school, or anything like that. So I was like, you know what? This is definitely a book that I will come back to and reread. One nugget that I did like, these kids are on their own timeline. You do not need to be worried about the timeline and the goals that the other kids are doing that are their age. For example, my daughter, our goal last summer, I just wanted her to learn how to swing on her own. She was able to accomplish it and it was epic, okay? I was so proud of her. It was such a big deal. These small things are massive in our world. She reminds us to come from a place of parenting out of hope and less out of fear. And I absolutely love that. So if your child was newly diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, I think this would be a very insightful book for you to try. Okay, so this next book had such a cool concept, and it is Happiness Falls by Angie Kim. I was like, wait, what? So basically the dad goes missing. The last person that the dad was with is his non-speaking son. And so I love the exploration of communication in this book. It's such a reminder that like, whoa, just because someone does not talk, it doesn't mean they don't understand you. It doesn't mean that they don't hear you. Just because someone is looking away, it doesn't mean that they're not paying attention. They're actually probably listening very intensely. And sometimes a meltdown, that's the only way that this particular individual knows how to communicate with you. And so there's truly a difference in nonverbal and non-speaking. I like looking at communication from this aspect. So this was a very interesting book. If you like to get deep, learn about communication, I can admit that there are a lot of moments that bored me when they got to the whole happiness project thing. I was interested in it enough, but I felt like there were moments where it was just like, I see why people are DNF in the book, or I see why people are giving it a lower rating, because to me, it did take from the story a little bit. However, I still gave it 5 stars just because it was such a cool concept and it was such a beautiful journey to go down with this family as they figured out what happened to dad and just learn to see Eugene as a human being and not just a burden. Oh, it was just so good. So anyway, this obviously I highly recommend. Okay, so this next book, when I heard the synopsis, I was like, oh, this person cutting up. It is by Angie Kim as well, and it is Miracle Creek. I am actually going to do a reread of this book. The first time I read it, I got it from the library, and so I was like, I'm reading this book again because I need to annotate, because Angie Kim is going there, okay? Let me give you a quick synopsis. Basically, you have a mother that is on trial for killing her autistic son. That's wild. I was like, man, that's all I need in order to read the book. Actually a very long synopsis that they give, but that pretty much pulled me in. This was interesting because there's so many different characters. There's side stories. You got lots of background drama going on alongside this trial. Absolutely love how the book highlights parents with, like, you know, special needs kids. They compare. It's like, oh, well, I'm glad my kid's not dealing with that. Like, oh, at least they're potty trained. Oh, at least they do this. Oh, at least they don't do that. How they judge other mothers who are not, you know, taking as much initiative with their child's diet. And I'm just like, wow, Angie, like so many things that go on in the community for autistic moms. I was like, not you saying it out loud. So it was like some audacity up in here, but this was still just a very interesting story. She does have a habit, like I said, here it was that happiness theory thing. Here it's like an oxygen chamber. So there's a lot of other background noise going on about that, and how people, not even just with autism, like maybe you have infertility issues or eczema or whatever, they go into this chamber as well in order to get healing. And so that's actually what catches on fire the little boy, and someone else died. Yes, when the oxygen chamber mysteriously explodes, killing 2 people, all these dreams shatter with it, and the ensuing murder trial uncovers unimaginable secrets and lies. And boy, does it. It was some stuff going on. Integrity is also challenged because it's like, what do I do in this situation? Oh my God, this was good. This was really good. This was one of my top reads of 2023, and I cannot wait to read it again this month. So please let me know if you guys have any more books written by autistic authors or that have neurodiverse or autistic representation in them. Please drop them in the comments. I would love to read them and give them a go. I hope that you guys have found one of these books interesting. And like I said, for the most part, they're all just really dope books that just happen to have neurodiverse representation. So if you're looking for a book within your genre, I think I have a little something for everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Ooh, I was about to start recording, y'all, but the Amazon truck pulled up, so you know what that means. I'm getting some new books.